So first thing you do, you rivet these two pieces together. In order to do that, you need to drill one extra hole right at the back there. You can see how this guy fits together. Pretty straightforward. So this guy fits like that. You can see. That there is where we drill one extra hole. Because what we need to do is we need to pull this piece, that piece in like that. So you pull that piece in until it's quite firmly against the lower angle, and then you drill that hole and you rivet that guy in there. And then it does mean you have to drill out that hole, and drill that hole out. So the last 1, 2, 3 holes have to be re-drilled and an extra hole put in there where you've pulled this nice and tight against the rear end like that. The rest of the holes you just line up all the way along and rivet them. You rivet them you put the riveting on this side, riveting downwards, so the head is on the top. This is the top. So there's 6 holes here. You drill all 6 holes out to 6 millimeters. Because the little screws we use are these little guys. The little button head M6 by 10 screw. That's got to go in, and that's what fits in there like that and holds this frame to the slide which is in the fuselage. These little screws, in some instances, they are a touch too long, like 0.5 millimeter or 1 millimeter. And when you're moving the slide, you'll hear it like scratching slightly and catching slightly. You must then take the screw out, grind off the edge a little bit, about 1 millimeter off, screw it in again. Don't forget, after you've drilled the holes, deburr. So what happens now is we fit these frames onto the sliders over here, like this. One there, one here. Give them a little nip up. I can hear it scratching slightly. The screw is slightly too long. So you need to just give it you might have to just, not all of them, sometimes they're a little bit too long. Right, so you put this side on, you put that side on. So you put the frame on, flush at the back here, and flush on that side. And you clamp it in place using, you can use all sorts of little clamps, but the ones we use are these little Clico clamps. Put one here, another one at the back. That's holding the frame. It's flush at the back. You make sure it's lined up here with the frame itself. This back edge and this edge is nice and flush, and it's down firmly. And then what we do is we put the holes in. In order to screw this rollover frame at the back onto the side frames with the 4 screws over here, we first have to trim it slightly. And what we do is we attach it like this, in this position down here, and you attach it on the other side, and then you measure in the middle at the top, you measure a gap to the aluminium frame of between 20 to maximum 25 mil. 20 to 25 mil, that's the gap at the top there that you want to have. If you have if the gap's too high, then the canopy sits too high. If it's too low, it might catch. But I like to have it about 20 mil. It's enough space to clear, and the canopy's then quite nice and quite far down. Once you've got the gap set up at the top there, then you might have to trim this guy on the bottom slightly. Once you've got them trimmed, you've got them nicely in place like this, you've got it lined up at the back here, then you mark the holes, you draw a line 10 mil in, 10 mil in, you put one hole there, then you put another one down the bottom here, 15 mil up from the bottom here. So this is 15, that's 10, and that's 10. There's a hole, there's a hole. This line goes along here like this, and you can see this line from the edge of the fiberglass comes down here like this, and 10 millimeters in from the edge, 10 millimeters in from the edge, you put a hole there, and 35 mil up, which is about there somewhere, you put another hole. And you put the screws in, countersinking them from this side. You use the screws, which are these guys here, which are these guys right over here. They are M4x12s, countersunk from this side using the little lock nuts on the inside. Now you have the rear frame in place, perfectly aligned. You got the angle right, everything, it's looking beautiful. Now you do the front one. So this guy, of course, is now bolted in place very firmly on the front. Don't forget, we bolted it in place using the M5x20 countersunk screws with the M5 riv nuts over there, for each side. This is perfectly square, beautifully lined up. Now the frame is here. We pull the frame right forward to its maximum position. You see how it fits? It fits perfectly over there. And we take this frame and we mount it in place, and we line it up perfectly. Now you see, lift it that side slightly, Chris. Just lift it, the other one, yeah. Now you see, once you've got this in place here, you might find that there's a little bit of a discrepancy over here. So you can either spacer the bottom up slightly like that, or if you find it's too high, you have to grind it down a little bit. So there's a fitment thing. You have to actually fit these perfectly together, and these two frames must fit perfectly like this. Don't forget, you've already got the glass on over here on the front. So the glass is here, but this, after you fitted the glass here and the glass here like that, they must match perfectly together. It must be a beautiful fit all the way along like that. And you can see how that fits there. You'll see that once you actually put this catch in place and pull it tight there, it pulls it up quite tight here in the middle, but there's a bit of a gap over here. So what you've got to do is, when you put this frame in place, actually make it a little tighter at the bottom and a little less tight at the top, so that as you tighten it there with the locking mechanism, it pulls the whole frame. And if you can see here, it's perfectly lined up, the front and the rear, perfectly lined up here, and there's an even gap all the way, and it's perfectly sealed, so no water can get in if you parked in the rain. So now to fit this guy in place, again what we do is we drill holes through here, hole through there, hole through there, hole through there, and some from the bottom as well, and we use the countersunk screws, which are these little guys here, the M4x15s. These guys. The M4x15s go through here. We put two on the side here, one there, one there. So the best thing to do here when you're putting this frame in place is you mix up some epoxy glue, like Pratley's steel or something like that, and you put glue underneath it, and you glue this guy in its position in the frame here. So it's glued perfectly like that. It's tight up against this guy like this over here, and it's glued in place. It can't move. It's lined up at the top. And then after the glue is dry, you can drill some holes, put a little screw on the inside, a little nut, or if you want to do it beforehand, before you actually glue it, you can drill holes through and put riv nuts in. That's what these riv nuts, there's screws and riv nuts here. So those are the screws, M4x15. These are the riv nuts. You can put riv nuts into these guys. So you pull riv nuts in from the bottom and from the side, two from the side, two from the bottom, and then you put the little countersunk screws in over there. Because don't forget, the glass comes all the way down to here.